Hey guys, this is Ricci-Lee, the dance sport dietitian of A Taste of Health, coming back at you this week with some nutrition tips by request from one of our followers. So this week we're going to be talking about dairy-free sources of calcium, as well as balancing that out with minimizing risk of kidney stone development. So first and foremost, to talk about non-dairy sources of calcium. Calcium can come from a lot of non-dairy sources, so it can actually be really easy to get enough calcium without using milk-based products. So we need about 1,000 to 1,500 milligrams of calcium per day. So some of those sources that we're going to use to get our calcium intake if we're not having dairy include things like broccoli, kale, white beans, hummus, as well as fortified cereals and soy-based products. And then if we're going to look at, one thing we have to be cautious of is we want to make sure we have the correct balance of both calcium as well as oxalate intake if we are worried about being at higher risk for kidney stones. Kidney stones, there are multiple types, and that's why I mentioned both calcium and oxalate, as well as some other things that are out there that, we can make sure you discuss with your doctor or your dietitian specifically to make sure these tips are properly suited for you. And when we're looking at minimizing calcium-based kidney stones, we actually want to just make sure we're staying within that 1,000 to 1,500 milligram intake of calcium per day. And then we also want to make sure we're staying hydrated, as well as actually making sure that our sodium intake is not increased over about that 1,500 milligram recommendation, which also helps with our blood pressure management and things like that in our diet. So a couple things that kind of come into play. When we're looking at oxalate management, we want to really make sure that we're looking at that we're not having some of those higher oxalate calcium foods, which is a little tricky. That's our spinach, our beets, our nuts, things like that. But some of the other calcium-based sources that I mentioned are going to kind of cover that so that you don't have to eat those sources in order to get enough calcium if you can't consume dairy. And the last thing with our oxalate kidney stones that we want to make sure we minimize that will be helpful is really looking at actually getting in enough calcium per day. So if we have 1,000 to 1,500 milligrams of calcium per day, that can also decrease our risk of those oxalate kidney stones. So that's just a few notes about non-dairy sources of calcium, also minimizing risk of some of our kidney stones for those of you who are at high risk. If you have any questions or if you're looking for any more tips, feel free to let me know, send me a message, and we look forward to coming back at you with some more tips next week.